Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our patrons, supporters, and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day, and our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, offering the best inventory prices and delivery of cards for Magic Online. I am Evan Irwin, and we get started by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Erin Campbell.
Good evening.
Ruben Bressler.
What's going on? How's everybody doing?
Everything is lovely. We had another exciting week in Magic the Gathering.
That's right.
It's time to talk about all those deets. As we get started with our Trumpet Blast, you can get one if you support us at our highest level on Patreon. We do have a few notes as we get started this week. No Trumpet Blast, but as an addition, a free bonus thanks to viewer Travis K. The person who wins the $50 gift certificate tonight is also going to get the Sliver Overlord Arena sleeves and the Kaleidoscope Killers MTGO promos.
Wow.
Yeah, we have those two codes. You'll get them in addition to the $50 gift certificate. Please, !raffle in the chat. You get 2 entries if you're subscribed. So subscribe, hit that raffle, get double chances. Travis, thanks a lot for the digital stuff.
I've never entered the raffle. Can I enter to try to win these things?
You can't self-deal, dude. Can't
fine.
self-deal.
All right.
Yeah.
Can't get high on your own supply.
That's
Yeah,
true.
dude.
So the winner gets paper Magic cards from Cool Stuff Inc. They get MTGA things, and they get MTGO things. That's such a good, wow, that's amazing.
Kind of ties it all together, which is nice. Next week, a week from today, if you don't know, is Christmas. And we won't have a show on Christmas because it's Christmas.
This just in, next Wednesday is Christmas.
But 2 weeks from tonight, because next week is Christmas, which means the week after that is New Year's, and we are going to be live. We're going to be here. We're going to be dressed up. It is going to be Magic Miceys, the 2019 Magic Miceys, along with not only that hype, we got a preview card, maybe cards, I don't know, but definitely a preview card from Theros Beyond Death that comes out on the 1st, along with the Miceys. It's going to be very exciting.
That's going to be a huge show. Yeah, exactly. We'll all get all spiffy. We'll all get all nice. And it'll be 2 weeks since the last episode, which is tonight.
Yeah.
And so you will have missed us, hopefully, probably. And then we'll cover the year that was in Magic the Gathering in the meantime. And we'll be tweeting out suggestions and asking for your suggestions on hashtag of the year, best WotC decision of the year, set of the year, worst WotC decision, most hated card, most loved card, in memoriam, all of those things. So be sure to be active on our Twitter to get to us about that.
MTG Young Mage knows he has a preview card for THB as well.
Also, shout out to MTG Young Mage for hitting 3,000, I think it was subscribers on YouTube. Like, you are officially a medium-sized creator right now, even if you are a small-sized creator physically.
Right.
And every sub counts. Every sub counts.
Absolutely.
And you also don't have to stay up late next Wednesday, so you can stay up late next Tuesday instead for Christmas Eve.
Right.
That's the hardest thing about missing episodes, is seeing him tweet at us of like, oh man, I stayed up.
Yeah.
What do you see what we're doing to people? This is what we do to people. Okay. Look, our first pick for this week is Theros Beyond Death. Got a sort of a rollout. Now, last week we got to talk about Elspeth and Ashiok and what they do. And then, surprise, surprise, not only do we now know what they do, we got to play with them over the weekend, which was kind of amazing. But let's start here with the trailer. Now, the trailer for these sets, as time has gone on, has gotten more and more important, at least in terms of what I've seen and felt. You know what I mean? Like the War of the Spark trailer was like a moment. Like people seriously felt like it was incredible. And even though the Throne of Eldraine was kind of silly and whatever, at least I think it was very unique. I thought it was very creative. I really enjoyed the song and how that worked into this like crazy Garrick fight, which is cool. And then we had Theros Beyond Death. And this trailer just like completely underwhelmed me. Like,
it was not good. The issue that I had with it was number one, it felt like a retread. I felt like we were seeing a similar motif of Elsbeth sees something that reminds her of herself when she was younger, and she tries to save it, only to find that it's a zombie or it's a dead person. We saw that with the War of the Spark trailer, where Liliana sees the girl and the boy, and it reminds her of her and Josu, and that sort of, inspires her to act. And so we had kind of seen that already. It also wasn't really clear as to what exactly was happening. So like Elsbeth gets pulled into this muck, into the water, which I assume is back to the underworld. And then there's like a cut for a second or two. And then there's this weird sort of orange outburst. And it's just like, is that supposed to be your spark? Like, I wasn't really clear as to what exactly was going on there.
Right.
And I'm also really not sure how Ashiok ties into death, where it was my understanding that Ashiok was more dreams, nightmares, mind space. I'm not sure how the weakening of the barrier brings that character into play. But other than the trailer itself, I mean, I'm really excited for the set.
Yeah, the set itself seems cool. I just feel like, you know how they're at this point there's the trope of like the 5-mana planeswalker, that +1 draw a card, you know, minus whatever kill a thing, and the ultimate will helps you win the game. And now it feels like these trailers are, here's a planeswalker who doesn't know where they are or what's going on. Here's the villain and or something scary, and here's some flash of light at the end of it. Like, how many trailers have we seen that way? I just feel like there was so much momentum built up in, you know, I felt like even if I didn't love the Throne of Eldraine trailer, I could, you know, at least, man, like, wow, there's a lot of time, work, effort, you know, stuff in there. And I'm like, for Theros, I'm like, what was the same team on both trailers? Because I just don't feel like the same team was there.
It looked different. It didn't look as visually crisp as the last two. Like, the last two really popped visually. This one felt a bit faded. Like, it just felt kind of, it didn't look fresh to me.
I really wanted to like this trailer. I went in hoping that, and it sounded beautiful. The music was great. The visuals in terms of just the backgrounds, the vistas, was nice, but nothing happened. And then it just felt like nothing was explained. Nothing was earned and nothing was learned. And it was just, now 8.5 million views is a good number, because they got that from the Game Awards. And, you know, 1,000+ comments as well. That's always nice to have. But it's like, I was very nonplussed by this trip.
And you know, and I want to be excited. I want to be moved. I want there to be something emotional. I want it to be like when you're like, hey, this is like the composer for Westworld or whatever. I'm like, oh man, we're going to do this now. Okay. All right. Anyway. Let's move on here to some other details that were revealed, such as the collector booster contents. They are going to have a Nyx Constellation showcase theme and full foil art lands, or full art lands, as it were.
And those are the Pokemon Energy lands?
That is correct. I have them on screen now to show you that. Here's some examples of the collector booster treatment. You have the foil showcase Nyx basics. You get 2 in every collector booster, guaranteed. So those are going to be worth probably anywhere from $5 to $8 a piece. So, you know, there's some guaranteed value in that booster, which is nice. Extended art frame of only available in collector boosters. This is very similar to Eldraine. Constellation showcase frame, which should be in the main booster packs, at least what they had mentioned. And borderless planeswalkers, which you could also, I think, open in the draft boosters as well, but of course they'll be showcased in the collector booster. And they broke out exactly how, in a nice graphic out here on the screen, so you can take a look exactly what the collector boosters have. From 8 foil commons, uncommons, or basic lands, 1 card from an ancillary product, and this also includes the new theme boosters that we'll get to here in a minute. A rare or mythic with extended art frame, 1 foil rare or mythic, 1 Saga Constellation showcase card or borderless planeswalker, 1 foil of that same type, 2 foil lands, and 1 foil double-sided token. So collector boosters are here to stay, and we'll see how these do.
I still can't make heads or tails of this, but what I can say is that Constellation showcase frame is gorgeous, where, you know, the other ones really didn't do anything for me, but that absolutely does. So I don't really know how I get my hands on those or like what cards come with that, but this has my interest more than other sets have had.
I'm also really, I don't know if we're going to go deeper into Theros, like spoiler talk. Are we doing that later?
Not necessarily, but if you want to bring out some stuff, feel free.
I wanted to just really touch on, I'm glad that sagas are back.
Yeah.
That's really exciting for me. I thought that sagas were one of, if not the best part of Dominaria in terms of encapsulating the story. Theros being the enchantment kind of set.
It's perfect.
Really lends itself to bringing sagas back. The Theriad and the ancient history of Theros really lends itself to sagas being a thing as well. So I'm really excited to have those return.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are going to be previews abound. I have a link here I'm going to put in the chat. You guys can check that out. There is an entire list of who's going to be previewing something and on what day. And January 1st, there we are. Magic Mics. Should be very exciting.
There will not be a Broken Pact preview this time around. Just so everybody's aware.
Good to know. Wizards also posted their mechanics article, which actually gave some real details on the escape mechanic. And now we have if a creature escapes, it escapes with something. Underworld Ragehound escapes with a +1/+1 counter on it, which is really cool. And the ability to essentially play things from your graveyard, which Aaron, I feel you'd be a big fan of course.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this set. It has the two things that I really enjoy the most. I love, obviously, anything having to do with the graveyard, but, a lot of people don't know I love Enchantress. I played Constellation when it was standard legal. I won my first game day thanks to a green-white Constellation deck, and so I am really excited. I think the Enchantress that they spoiled is very competitive. I think it could see play in Pioneer. Very. And I think it's also comparable to other Enchantresses that we've seen even in older formats. So I'm really looking forward to that seeing play. I'm a big fan of Devotion, obviously. Our first glimpse of that, or one of our first glimpses of that, was Daxos, who appears to be healthy. And so Elsbeth's Boo thing is getting out too. So she might finally get a happy ending, if you know what I mean. And also we got introduced to a Klothys. Klothys appears to be another god or maybe a demigod. And I know the cosplayers were ecstatic over this character. She's this tall, dark-skinned, muscled, like just toned, almost like Xenagos got lost in a craft store, and in female. Like it had ribbons and had flowing white hair and like a blindfold. And it was neat seeing the cosplayers on Twitter fight over like who was going to play her, because everybody wanted to be that character.
Yeah, on screen here I actually have Daxos Blessed by the Sun, which is which is a 2 white, 2 and a star for its toughness. A legendary enchantment creature demigod. These are our first demigod I've ever seen. Daxos' toughness is equal to your devotion to white, which means each white in the mana cost of permanents you control counts towards your devotion to white. And whenever another creature you control enters the battlefield or dies, you gain 1 life.
Yeah, people were very excited for this with the Soul Sisters strategies. Just a solid creature already. And then, of course, Klothys' design is the one that I think had Klothys pictured in it, which is sort of like an overrun kind of effect.
Yeah, and they also went to spoil the Setessan Champion. They noted that Constellation is on non-enchantments this time.
Yeah.
And this is a good example. It's a green or 2 generic mana for a 1/3 rare human warrior that has Constellation. Whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Setessan Champion and draw a card.
This card is good.
Yeah, very.
I mean, the problem with a lot of previous SPBKASO, the Evan Irwins there. The problem with a lot of Enchantresses we've seen before is they don't really do anything other than be Enchantresses. And sometimes that's good enough. Sometimes you have your 0/1 that draws you cards, or your 1/1 or something like that, or your Mesa Enchantress, but they're not really known for being offensive or even very defensive. And so this is a card that gets bigger and can be a win condition if you grow it big enough, or can block, unlike an Eidolon of Blossoms that you often just throw into things and just sort of take the punch. And so I think this could be a very important player in Pioneer, certainly in Standard, and I'm really excited to see what this card can do.
Yeah, this is one of those cards that kind of does all the things. It kind of fuels you and is a powerful threat in and of itself. So that's kind of scary. And
I also appreciate the shift away from making Constellation be only on enchantments, because they were correct in that it leads to some very unintuitive deck building, where like you literally just go on Gather and you're like enchantments, and then you just jam them. But being able to put it on other things gives you more room to play, and I really like that. And I was enjoying seeing Ethan Fleischer's thoughts on this as well. He'd made a little thread about Constellation, and so that was cool, and you should follow him because he's great.
Very nice. All right, so as I recall, this happened previously with Battle for Zendikar, which is if you buy a bundle, which comes with a bunch of it comes with a pack of basic lands in this bundle, where you normally get 9 or 10 boosters. You get some, nowadays you get 20 foil lands and 20 non-foil lands. You get an oversized D20 these days also, which is great. But what you don't get is the Pokemon energy lands. You don't get those. You get normal, regular, standard lands with the little picture and the other half, with the mana symbol.
And we saw the arts for those as well. There are 2. There is the Nyx full art / full text lands, and then there are 2 each of regular style lands. It seems that one of the arts has the chains of the underworld in them, and the other one is more land based as opposed to underworld based.
Yeah.
And so those exist in the set as well.
Right, but you get one Nyx land in every draft booster. So every normal booster, you're going to get one of those extended art lands, which is fine and good and a reason to open packs and whatnot. But if you buy the bundle, not so much, which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
but
whatever.
Again,
I mean, if you want to have both types of lands, I think this is a fine product to not have the extended art lands in them, so that they don't get, you don't get swamped out of a casual product.
You're right. The issue is that if they gave you 20 foil extended art lands, the price of that bundle would be exponentially higher.
Yeah. That's not gonna. Yeah, I'm completely fine with those not having.
And then you would have that weird thing where like Walmart gets bought out, and there's this weird secondary market that tries to take advantage of it. So there are definite reasons why this is a good thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that, just so you know, you're not going to get the the energy lands, as it were. But also, what you're not going to get is much of story. Wizards of the Coast released an update on the Theros Beyond Death story on cards. They tried to sort of highlight, hey, here's what happened, and here's a few images on where these characters are and what they mean. And they were like, by the way, there's not going to be, as far as I know, there's not going to be an ebook, and there's not going to be, is there going to be published story even at this point?
I don't think so. I think I saw a tweet that said that it won't be. I think it was like, look here for like. I mean, they're sending you to the website for something, but I don't think it's like a bona fide story.
Yeah, from the chat here, no ebook, no short stories, no nothing. Apparently, the 4th issue of the Chandra comic book came out.
Yeah,
miraculously. Okay, great,
perfect timing.
Yeah, whereas the rest of it we have here of just like, note that for Theros Beyond Death, there are currently no plans for an ebook, so make sure to check out this page throughout previous seasons. So we have like these weird kind of images that tell little blips of a story, and that's supposed to be our story?
I find it kind of ironic that we finally have a set that warrants sagas, which means there are stories to tell, and then you don't have an actual story. It's just like, what? Especially when we're coming off of the Nissa and Chandra thing, Wizards was like, we're going to do better, but not this set.
not going there. Okay. This is one of those things where, like, do I think the War of the Sparks book, worked per se? No, honestly, either of them, not really, in terms of how they were, their sales, I don't think were amazing or anything. And the books certainly weren't received as like all-star fantastic pieces of work. And I get that. But like, we can't even have like the web stories. We can't even have like the 2,000 word like short stories you post every week. Nothing.
Let me ask you a question. What was the heyday of Magic Story? What was the best time for Magic Story?
Probably from.
Probably from Cons, I'm guessing. I think Cons through Ixalan was a pretty special kind of time in terms of.
I don't think there's anything about Cons that really got me. What came out? I think it was Kaladesh.
Kaladesh was good.
To me, I feel like that was when, when I talk about Magic Story, I talk about Allison Lures, because to me they go hand in hand. And I think Allison really shone starting in Kaladesh with the introduction of Yahini. And then we went from the Yahini years into Amonkhet, which she was very, very involved in, particularly the Liliana story where she got to, sick the alligators on someone. That was really dope. And then you had Ixalan, which showed the growth between Jason and Veraska. Those years, I think, were the best for me, at least.
It's just so weird how we got to this point that narrative design was such an important facet of so many sets. And it always seems, maybe this is coincidence, but it always seems to go hand in hand with like bad standards and like bad sets. That we had good story and then we had good standards with bad story, which was always kind of funny to me. But the main thing for me was the delay, that we could not decide when it was, because they've been shifting and changing so much. We haven't had a solid foundation upon which to build story for so long. Much less, be able to get a successful Netflix show or movie franchise. It's just a sad part of Hasbro's inability to capitalize on the success of Magic the Gathering.
Alesha Who Smiles at Death, that was from Fate
That story was
Reforged.
fabulous.
Well, I mean, that story was good, but as a whole, I didn't really care about the Tarkir story, but that was a bright spot.
I actually paid some attention back then, and I read some of those stories, and there was actually some really interesting sort of give and play between the clans themselves and how they act and how they work. And again, I thought the Alesha was a great watermark, and so from that point, I felt like, wow, they did a pretty good job at all that stuff. And I don't know, man, Magic Story has done this weird ebb and flow of it's super important and it's given a lot of time and attention and whatnot, and then it's like, not really. Let's not really talk about it. And now we just get like 5 story spotlight cards, maybe some images on Wizards' website.
I wonder if maybe the reason they're scaling back on the story has to do with the upcoming Netflix show, that they don't want there to be they don't want the story pulled in too many directions, that they want the story to go in one direction, and then they want it to be sort of uniform across all things, as opposed to, things like The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, where it's like, the story lines up until it doesn't, and then you have like the books versus the show, and then you have the schism that often creates of people who think it should go one way. And so I wonder if that's what they're trying to do in terms of, we're getting closer to the show, we want that to be the canon, we want you to focus on that, we don't want to splinter off. Maybe they're just kind of getting their ducks in a row for that.
Maybe. Let's move on here to... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, that'd be great if the Netflix show, like, seasons went along with a set. Like, that would be... I would love that. That'd be fabulous.
I don't know if that's the plan necessarily, but I can see them wanting to, like, just get rid of any sort of alternate universes or, like, any sort of confliction and just say, this is the storyline. Like, go with that.
So the last bit here on Theros Beyond Death, and I'm going to bring it up here on screen for you, are the Theros Beyond Death theme boosters. Now, theme boosters have been around for a while now. I want to say since Magic 2019 was when they first tried them, which is a separate product, a separate booster in and of itself that only contains certain types of cards. Like it only contains blue cards or white cards, or it certainly contains Celestia cards or Gruul cards or whatever. And for Theros, they are going to have not just these sets of cards from Theros Beyond Death, but also their own unique rares aimed at newer players looking to collect cards in that specific theme. And so on the screen here, I'll show you, here's some of the options of them. Underworld Sentinel. Underworld Sentinel sounds like, right up Erin's alley, as it were.
This is like a World Shaper. If anyone's ever played World Shaper in Commander, you know how much fun it is to set it up and then kill your own thing, or just beg someone else to kill it. Be like, I'm going to attack you, kill it, please. And just have this pinata that when it breaks, you get goodies. And in this case, you get dead things.
Now, note, this is not the first time that Wizards has printed things outside of a set, outside of a standard set. The Planeswalker decks are the easiest example. There's also like the Welcome decks, which, for example, is hard to find a certain Llanowar Elves, I think, in Dominaria, or there was a certain, there was one in M20 because it was in the Welcome deck. But whatever. The point is that these are now, it's not just, maybe some Planeswalker deck cards or something in them. It's rares that you can only find in these theme boosters. And it's not like they're marked. This is a random, which rare did I open in my theme booster type thing.
Are these standard legal?
Yes.
Yeah, they are standard legal. I think they're adorable. I love the Serpent of Yawning Deaths, which is a little grumpy face. He's just like, just sitting under the sea. I love it. And I mean, a blue enchantment creature, I'm all on board for that. We've got this weird Ron Perlman Thanos looking thing with lots of hands, which I really enjoy. The Victory's Envoy, which is a really great way to beef up your weenies. I like the Deathbellow Warcry. You got the Saffron Olives of the world that are trying to turn that into a win condition with Arcane something. I guess there's a card that if you
Arcane Adaptation.
Yeah, so people are trying to bust that in half, which I love. The Tree Shaker Chimera, which is great. I think these are fabulous. I'm a fan.
Yeah, they're very Timmy-esque, and that makes me happy.
And I like them, and I want them to be that way. Don't get me wrong, and they certainly look that way. You just don't want a Nexus of Fate situation where, like, oops, they made a great card in Standard, and now we got to go open these theme boosters trying to find it. And
to find Search My Library for 4 Minotaurs cards. Yeah, that would be a bit of a disaster. But I mean, like, what's the ceiling on any of these cards?
Right.
Like,
they're like fairly harmless.
The Sad Tadpole 6/6 for 6 that Erin was talking about.
Right.
Has got to be the one with the highest ceiling, right? It makes your fishies unblockable.
Right.
So,
my guess is that you'll be able to craft them on MTG Arena, but there will be no other way to get them. There might be an event around them. We'll see. All right, so let's move on here to gather the townsfolk. It's time to talk about Arena. It's time for Erin to find the peach rings. Where did they go?
They are. I was told earlier that they are impeach rings today.
Wow. Ooh. Ooh. Woo! topical. Now look,
I'll eat to that.
Wizards kind of sprung us the friend stuff, the social tools in MTG Arena. You can now have a friends list. And you can add friends, and I think you can directly challenge them as a result. I've not played around with it much, but at least it's something, right? We have the ability to add a friend to a list. Here is my username, pound some number or whatever after it.
I'll be honest, I have not added any friends to my friends list yet. I have, however, noticed that Arena is slower than it was last week. It is not as usable. We're back to those laggy days from earlier in the year, as far as I can tell. I don't think that it's my potato internet. I think that it's my potato program.
It's funny when you said laggy days, I immediately thought of that Bruce Springsteen song, Glory Days.
Laggy days. Back to my laggy days.
There are people in the chat who have no idea who Bruce Springsteen is.
Oh, we're terribly old.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking back to my 26.4K baud, modem days. Y'all don't even know.
Packfoils, I know you know this song. I know you do.
Flip it over to my laggy days. So I know a lot of people were excited about Friends List, and it also brought about the ability for people to create their own little leagues and for tournaments to run smoother, but I don't know. It has. I haven't done anything with it yet personally.
Same. It's more or less like it exists. Isn't that cool? We've been asking for it for a long time, and now it's there in some form or fashion. High five. Yeah. All right. One of the different ways that they are selling the set versus previous releases, I'll bring up here on the screen. You now have not just the ability to pay $50 to get 50 packs and a certain card sleeve and a certain card style, which is kind of the default. Now they are saying you have two different options. You can pay $50 to get the Elspeth play bundle, which includes some sealed deck, some coins or something, and also the Mastery Pass is also included in that. Or you can include the original kind of deal, which is you get Ashiok's card sleeve theme thing. You get you get the sleeve, you get the card style, you get 50 packs, and if you buy both of these things, if you give them $100, they will give you a bonus pet of the three-headed dog there.
The Cerberus? Nice.
The Cerberus, yes.
I mean, $100 every 3 months. I think, $400 a year for Arena. That's about the number that, people would spend on paper Magic, probably. That's like a fine number, right?
It's not unheard of in a hobby like ours, essentially, to say wow, you're going to drop $100 on the new set. Well, I mean, what's that, a booster box in the real world at this point?
Fine.
So
and so you're buying a booster box online. The thing is that you don't have physical, tangible things, and so when the internet dies and we all are brought back down to sticks and stones, you aren't going to have your Magic cards.
Yes, the great heat death of the universe is going to remove your Magic cards. Okay, got it.
Yeah, but I guess that's that's when all of the credit card companies fall to the ground at the end of Fight Club. But the point is that it's like a fine value. I'm not upset with what there is available here, and I like that owl better than the ugly as hell freaking dragon thing that they tried to pawn off on us.
That dragon was just awkward.
Boy, howdy, I can't.
What were they thinking with that thing? Yeah. That said, last bit here on Arena, after the Game Awards that happened last week, there was the reveal of the Theros Beyond Death trailer, at which point we all went, that's it for real? Mm-hmm. And then they said, whoa, wait, don't worry about the trailer, because we have the after party up on here on the screen for you now, as you can see how they announced the Game Awards after party December 12th through 16th, so of course that's already finished. But it was no entry fee, unlimited play, a pre-constructed singleton format with, you get to play either Elspeth, you got to play actually Elspeth from the new set, or Ashiok from the new set, along with a bunch of awesome cards that they had just so happened to program into Arena, like Black Lotus, Underground Sea, Sword of Fire and Ice,
Ancestral Recall,
Decree of Justice.
The player in me was this was so random, but in the same token, I loved seeing people who've never played with these cards experience the joy of playing with these cards. Oh man, I just cracked a Lotus and I did this, and it was like, there's a format where you can do that all the time. And so it's always really great when people discover the joy of doing broken things, even if it is, in standard, in limited, in this sort of, limited environment like this. And I was just enjoying seeing all the tweets from people and the excited reactions. And I appreciate that they had Gabby already doing this, so that you could, a good tie-in of like, here's the tweet saying this is going on. Gabby's playing it right now. You can go tune in and watch her do that. I thought that was really seamless and cool.
Yeah, that was cool. And I heard of it, and I fired a MTGA, and there was the event. And this, not only is it amazing to play with awesome old cards. I
almost logged in for this. It was almost enough to do it.
Almost. We almost got Erin.
Goodness gracious.
I was waiting for the bizarre tweet, because everyone else was like tweeting the reveals of like, we found a Moxen, we found a Lotus, and I was like getting ready. I was waiting to be
bizarre was in the Elspeth deck.
So I was just sitting there like at the back of the gym, like and then like nobody picked me.
there is clearly going to be a vintage cube that is going to have Black Lotus and Moxen and dual lands and swords, and that stuff is coming, and I am so ready for it. I'm here for it. It's going to be great. Do note that for me, this was every single set release so far in Arena. They have given you 3 packs. Sometimes it's just like play M20 or play Ravnica or whatever it is. And there's just been this code that you have to know or hear about or somehow percolate to go to the store and enter the thing and get the packs. Well, now I feel like that's what this after party did, was it gave you 3 packs of Theros Beyond Death. You just got to go play with cool new, not to mention new cards, but old cards in order to do that. And I thought that was really clever.
The only problem for me is that now I've got these packs sitting on my account, and I'm the kind of guy that has to like reset all my apps so that I don't have notifications. Like, it's so tilting that I'm just like, hey, you've got unopened packs. It's like, I know I do. You're not letting me open them. And it's like, hey, you've got unread email. And I'm like, I know, you're not letting me read. Yeah, get rid of the thing.
Like, could they... Like, first of all, when you like actually try to open them, it says error. Really?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, you gonna throw me an error message? Like, come on. Just be like, you can open them on whenever or something.
It's like opening a can of peanut brittle and the worms come out. It's just
it's so bad. It's like,
goodness.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like that.
Wow. All right.
That's a good reference.
Well, Erin, now that we've moved on past our arena talk, it's time to talk about real paper Magic cards. How was that Commandfest?
Exhausting. So I had the pleasure of being at Commandfest DC this past weekend. Thank you, Star City Games, for rolling out the red carpet for me, making me feel like an absolute rock star. They gave me this giant sign, and yes, I took the sign that we had to carry, or we were asked to sort of, we were invited to carry around throughout the weekend so that people could find us. And I knew that this event was going to be a big deal because I went to Commandfest Chicago, and this event exceeded even my expectations. I had planned on hanging out in the free-to-play area, the on-demand area, and I just assumed I was going to be trolling for games all weekend, which was fine. I didn't even need to get up. Like, I was able to just sit there and have just a steady stream of people coming to me. At one point, I had enough people to fire my own pod. Like, for most of the day, it had been like 1 person, 2 person, and then I was like, okay, well, I have this friend with me. Can they play in the pod with us? At one point, there were 3 people lining up to play with me, and I was like, what is going on? I'm not even like that big of a deal, you know? Sheldon Menery had a sign-up sheet, which I guess if you're Sheldon Menery, you need one. Like, that's gangsta. But I mean, I just met so many people. I jammed so many games of Commander. I didn't see the same Commander twice. Everybody was super lovely. So many stories, so many faces. I signed so many cards, so many mats. Someone asked me to draw a token, and I'm not even an artist. And I was like, okay. And so it was just an incredible weekend. If you are thinking of coming out to a Commandfest, do it. It's a wonderful time. I hope Wizards continues to make these a thing next year. And if they do, I will absolutely be there. And thank you to everybody who said hi and shared your stories with me and said how much you love the show. We really appreciate that.
Yeah, I would be absolutely shocked if there's not at least twice as many Commandfests next year as there were this year. Like, they basically scrambled and made these 3 events happen. If they've given just a little bit of lead time, they can make, I think, a lot of really awesome events happen for next year.
Yeah, and there's a lot of room for growth here too. I mean, you could do panels, you could do,
you could invite perhaps your favorite 3 podcasters.
Yeah, you can bring content creators in. I mean, the thing that really struck me about this event is that this is where our people are. Yeah. I've met fans at GPs before. I've met fans at regionals and opens, and that's nice, and I appreciate that. But this is our audience. The casual, dare I say, Magic player is our audience. And so the degree to which I met people and got recognized really was that reality check of this is who we make content for. This is who is enjoying our show, and we need to lean into that. And that was just a huge wake-up call for me, because before it was like, oh, we have a nice little mix of people. No, girl, this is our audience, and God bless them, and we love them.
There you go. All right. So that said, there was another Pioneer band announcement. I would say restriction, but there's not. It's just a Pioneer ban announcement for December 16th. Oko, Thief of Crowns, made it all the way to December 16th. Nexus of Fate is also banned. So Oko, Thief of Crowns, and Nexus of Fate are banned effective essentially immediately. And they also note this is going to be the last set of Pioneer changes for a minute. But they were like, hey, that Oko guy seems pretty dumb and is winning a lot.
Did you see that Allie Warfield had made a tweet, sort of like a meme-y, silly tweet where she was talking about, what if we put Oko in Burn?
Yeah.
And some poor bastard sleeved up Modern Burn 5-0 to League and then tagged her in it. Was like, here you go. And it was just like, can you not please? Like, the card is just dumb.
It had all the burn stuff. It had 4 Okos, 4 Tarmogoyfs, and 1 Snapcaster Mage.
Like, you can put Oko in anything, literally anything, and win games. Like, it's just stupid.
It is unbelievable how good that card is. It's crazy. It's crazy.
The Pioneer looks really, really sweet right now. Again, I think it frees up even more space for people to play certain decks. I'm probably going to stream Pioneer this weekend. So I'm really excited to get in there, and I think they're on the right track with that. There was a bit of a kerfuffle regarding the band announcements because I guess they're not going to be doing them regularly anymore. And so I saw that some of the pros or the grinders felt a little blindsided, where they were like, normally we have some framework to go on in terms of when the next one's going to be. And they felt a little caught off guard by that of like, how do I do this?
Yeah, where they can't plan from week to week when the band announcements are going to happen in other formats as opposed to Pioneer. Which I'm kind of in favor of personally, but then again, I'm not a grinder anymore. So the instability of knowing what's going to get banned or what's not going to get banned is exacerbated by not knowing what the calendar even looks like anymore. So that could be a problem. You go off on 2 or 3 week Grand Prix circuits and you leave the house with what cards you have. And then in the middle of your Grand Prix circuit, you're on a flight to Des Moines and one of your decks gets banned or something, then you're SOL. But overall, I think it's a positive change. It frees up Wizards to be more creative with when they want to release announcements and do stuff like that. Well, as for Pioneer, Nexus of Fate was going to be a problem once Oko left. They got rid of Nexus of Fate. It looks like a wide open format again. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, well, there was another update this week of the December 16th. Now, there was an official, there was a scheduled ban and restricted announcement for this past Monday, not just the Pioneer thing. Yeah. And on that one, there were no changes to any existing formats. But they also note that, hey, that whole scheduled BNR update thing? Yeah, we're not cool with that. We're just going to get rid of that, and we're going to do BNR updates on Mondays if we're going to do them, and so that'll give you some time before the weekend or whatever, we hope. I can only imagine how it just completely upends the digital realm of Magic, where it's just like, oh, wait, on a Monday morning, your favorite deck got banned. And I agree in terms of, from their end, giving them more flexibility. But there's also the other side of that, which gives more uncertainty in terms of the people, and they want to invest in things. And, do you want to go to a certain event? Like how certain do you feel? Like, wow, this deck feels really good. Do I want to buy a plane ticket to this Grand Prix? And then they ban the deck on that Monday. Like, how many times does that have to happen before people are just like, okay, it's just too volatile for me to invest? Whereas if you go in on Magic Arena and you're like, hey, I'm gonna play this Oko deck, and they go, that card's dumb, let's ban it. Well, you get your 4 wild cards back. You don't get your wild cards back in real life if you decided to pay $120 and get some Okos. So that in and of itself is rough. But again, I understand how Wizards is like, look, we need more flexibility. We need to be able to react faster. A lot about what happens in Magic is the reaction. I mean, my gosh, how long did it go from, oh man, we're excited about Throne of Eldraine, to this format is broken and everything is wrong? It took, 11 days, maybe 14? Things move really fast. So giving Wizards the tools to react faster is probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially in light of them, pushing the pedal to the metal like they have been with the power level of things. You know, we've said that we like when Wizards does this. We would rather they take risks than not take any at all. Sure. But if you're going to do that, then you have to be willing to respond more aggressively when you do accidentally break something. And so if they are willing to do that, it's fine. But if you're going to keep pushing out these super powerful cards and taking a lax approach, I don't think that's going to end well.
Right, and for Scream and Jay walking there in the chat, like this is for all the formats. This is the we want to announce it on Mondays because that should be helpful to everybody. But but overall, the idea of scheduling this announcement and they're tied to that. You know what I mean? How many times have we had the formats of like if they could just move the BNR update, and they won't do it because they don't want to do emergency bannings or whatever. Well, if you don't schedule them, they can't be emergency now, can they?
Right.
So, max flexibility. Oliver Tomiko took down the SCG Players Championship.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Yeah, well done.
And the belt, yeah. The only real feedback I saw about this was the format was confusing to a lot of people, where people either really loved it or had a really difficult time following it. That was really the only consistent feedback I saw. It also ran really long. Like it felt like they played like all day long where, again, I was at the event all day and I would just kind of check in randomly, and I got at the venue pretty early. And then by the time I left, they were still going. And I was like, how many rounds is this thing? And then it didn't seem clear in terms of what it needed to go to the next day, where like you had like, I think Joe Lissette had like what appeared to be a losing record, but then he didn't. And it was very, very swingy, not clear.
Right, there was something to do with like tiebreakers or whatever. It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, that's a thing that's happened at this event before. There was, it's hard.
Standard was pretty safe. It was mostly Simic ramp decks. That was the big hit in terms of that. Modern was pretty diverse. Legacy was pretty fair. There weren't any spell-based combo decks. It wasn't anything too exciting in terms of lists, but I did enjoy sort of the trash talk leading up to it. I know Tomiko in particular said that he was going to be plucking flowers all weekend because a lot of the people from Team Lotus Box, and so he would tweet of like one petal down, or like he would take a picture and say, "Here's another petal," which I thought was really cool, and so it made following him much more enjoyable.
Yeah, getting a little bit of the hero and heel from professional wrestling into the act. I like that. I'll be honest, I haven't clicked on the unusable Star City Games website in about ever. It's stone unusable.
It's pretty awful.
But that's not their fault. not the coverage or the event's fault, I should say. And shout out to my buddy Nick Miller, who's still killing it in coverage.
He looked really great with those pictures. He got some pictures of him with the belt, and I was like, these are good shots, my friend. So good on him.
Yeah, well done.
All right. So a couple years ago, we spoke really briefly about a MMO, a Magic massive multiplayer online game. And that was pretty much it.
MMO.
So they announced it, and then everything went dark, and we haven't heard anything until this past week.
But we do know that one of the people involved, I think the community manager for that, is a fan of the show.
Oh, nice.
Because I think you had tweeted with him. You're the one who tweeted at him.
Well, no, I mean, I didn't know he was a fan of the show. He just sort of tweeted out, was like, hey, I'm the community manager.
See, people on Twitter reply to things, and then you can scroll down and see
Okay, all right.
Wow.
But so I was a huge fan of this announcement. Obviously I came up through MMOs. I played World of Warcraft for years. I raided seriously. I still play World of Warcraft. I raid a lot more casually now, but I love MMOs. And so I was really, really excited about this. I immediately ran to the website and registered for the beta. I tweeted that I had done so and tagged them so that they would know to get this girl a beta key. And then I know Evan had reached out to Mishi, who is the community manager for Arena. And then she had reached out and said, no, it's this guy. And the guy was like, love you, love the show. So hopefully he'll toss us some keys or something.
Nice.
Because I am very interested in the beta for that. And I would love to see how that goes.
I would like to note.
That's a thing that I'll stream.
That this is called Magic the Gathering or Magic Legends. Okay.
Yes.
That's a very bad name.
Like, it's a little confusing because there's been
because you Google Magic Legends, you're going to see some legendary creatures. Are you going to see this game?
The set that came out ages ago.
There's kind of a whole lot of was that really what you wanted to go with?
Yeah.
Versus maybe Lotus something or whatever, something very evocative of Magic. But
I'm
overall,
also sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I'm also a little curious about what this ARC means. So when you register for the beta website, you have to agree to register for something called ARC, A-R-C. And it looks a little bit like a Steam thing or like some sort of outside platform or client, which I'd never heard of before. I hope to God they're not shady, because I signed up for this thing super fast without really reading the fine print. But yeah, I am a part of this Arc Games, so I'm anxious to see what that all comes with.
It appears Arc Games are the developers.
Okay, it seemed like something that had like a library to it, and like.
So go to playmagiclegends.com, sign up for the beta, get in on that. That should be super sweet. You can also lets you stake your claim on your username, so you can get in on that ASAP.
I think I signed up for this already.
I think so. You tweeted about it, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
But regardless, that's really cool. Again, the name I think could be a little troublesome, but if the game's great, it's not going to matter. Moving on here, we don't have a lot. I'm going to try to touch on these really quickly. There was a Companion update. MTG Companion is the artist formerly known as Portal that they were originally, having announcements and advertisements for on tokens and packs and on the side of the Guilds of Ravnica booster box. Well, that turned into the Magic the Gathering Companion, which turned into a tournament runner, a tournament running software for your home. You take you take your device and you're able to take 8 people. You're able to put in 8 people's names, and it will go ahead and do the pairings and all the percentages and stuff for you, so you can tell who has to sit and play against who and whatnot. And they've released a new update that allows you to, so everybody has this installed, and then you can sort of join an event. So you can just type in a code and join an event, and then from your device you're going to get notified as to who you need to play, and you can to digitally, say who won the match, and that way the tournament organizer can confirm it and keep moving things, from there. And so this is essentially a big step in that before it was an app that you could put in 8 names and it would show you an 8-player event. Okay, sure. Now you're going to be logging in to your Wizards account. There's going to be organization of these different players, and there's going to be reporting, because you're logging into that account, of all of the tournament information that you are generating. So the idea that at one point in time they note here that it's almost like 2 betas in one, because they're also working on the Wizards Event Reporter. The Wizards Event Reporter is a piece of software that has been the bane of many an organizer from time to time, depending on what's going on. And so the idea that the Companion is going to create functionality that's going to go alongside Wizards Event Reporter, well, I feel like you want to get in a world where your phone says, bzz, you're at table 27 or whatever, and then when the match is over, you pull your phone out and you go, I won 2-1, and just hit go, and you don't have to kill any trees, and you don't have to use any ink. You just digitally report the result, and because you are in the tournament and you can see your results and what you did, you will know immediately if they reported it wrong. Because now you're at a Grand Prix and your opponent puts the wrong numbers in there and goes and puts in the thing. You usually don't know until the next round, and that's if you're paying attention to your points. And you go, oh, wow, I should have 12 points, not 9. What's up with that? And then there's the whole rigmarole of repairing and all this other garbage. The doing it digitally gives you immediate feedback as to what you're doing.
I like the idea of this. I can think of 2 hurdles that would get in the way. One, sometimes Wi-Fi or data is not available. Like sometimes you get in a venue that's a lot like a bunker, and so sometimes you don't have a very good connection to where you may not be able to post anything. And also battery life is a big thing. Like if you're going to a GP, you should have a juice box with you, or like a battery that you can do that, or you should have a socket that you can hug to do that. So as long as you come prepared and you've got battery power and connectivity, I think this is a fabulous idea. But I know those are 2 issues I've run into in the past of I can't either send anything because I have no connection, or my battery is just dead.
Once upon a time, I believe it was a Pro Tour, back when they were called Pro Tours, where they tried to do pairings by text. You remember this?
Yes.
They did text pairings, and it was a disaster. The text was showing up at 4 a.m. for your round 5 or whatever. People were getting it at random times. Nobody was getting it at the right time. Like it was really a hot mess. And we live in a better, more connected world these days. But it was like 10 years ago. It was the hotness. You know what I mean? We're going to do it via text. We got this new technology, and man, it was a mess. All right. Wizards quickly announced today that there are going to be challenger decks in 2020.
Nice.
There were challenger decks last year. There were challenger decks this year. There's going to be challenger decks next year. That's great.
Now, to be clear, those are the ones that have like the chaff from the standard that's about to rotate, and you can buy a standard deck and do it.
Yes. Now, last time, or so let's say the first time they came out with those decks, I thought they were an absolute home run. This is where they had a deck that had half rares, 30 rares in the main deck.
The approach deck. Yeah.
It was amazing, and they had the approach deck, which was sweet. And so last year they came out with a new set, and they were, I feel, clearly powered down.
Yeah.
You had the Explore deck that had 2 Jade Light Rangers. Don't you 2 Jade Light Ranger me, Wizards. Don't do that.
The mono red deck that had like 1 Phoenix and like an experimental frenzy.
Right. Uno experimental frenzy. And the fact that the Explorer deck had no Vraska's Contempt, again, that's going to rotate. It had no Carnage Tyrant, that again is going to rotate. These are cards that, yeah, were worth money, but we're also going to be rotating soon. And we're kind of, again, you didn't want a ton. Just give me 1 Carnage Tyrant. I'll go buy the second one. Give me 1 Vraska's Contempt. I'll go find the rest of them. But the idea of not only giving you like the base creatures for the deck aren't all there, but also the key spells in it and the key finisher isn't there. That to me was a very much a powered down moment. So I hope Wizards is going to ramp back up the power level, give us back that value that we were so blown away by in when these first came out. Like, I couldn't believe how much value was in the original Challenge decks. It was fantastic. Yeah. And then this past year was like, oh, Wizards, you're screwing it up. We were so excited. And here we are. So I hope they're great. We'll see what they are next year. They're coming out next April, on April 3rd, which is going to be sweet. And they're also going to include cards from Theros Beyond Death, which I thought was interesting. Whereas the previous challenge decks didn't really include stuff like for this year.
Newest, yeah.
Right. This year they didn't include stuff from Ravnica or Ravnica Allegiance, right?
Right.
So, which was kind of neat. We'll see how they do. All right, moving on here real fast. Got to congratulate Tolarian Community College. Oh my gosh, 500,000 YouTube subscribers. That's what I'm talking about.
First Magic content producer with 500,000 YouTube subscribers, defeating even Magic the Gathering's official channel, which has a mere 400.
Which he loves to remind you of, by the way.
Yes, indeed. And so well done to the professor and all of the tenured associates over there at TCC.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yeah, he has definitely been an example of like how to grow a channel, hardworking, what to do when you've achieved success. It's very important for him to sort of mentor and bring other people up with him. He's discovered or given the spotlight to people like Tappy Toeclaws and myself, and he's given Emma opportunities. And he's very good in terms of spotting talent. He has an eye for that sort of thing, and he believes in sort of sharing the wealth. He wants to bring people with him. He wants to share that audience with you, and it's just an example of what to do, and couldn't be happier for him. So.
Yeah, the professor is terrific people, and he is great, and the channel's doing well, and congratulations to him, and that is awesome. There was a quick note from Loading Ready Run that as of the end of this year, Friday nights, a program they appear to have been made every single month for the past 7 years, is going to end. The official Wizard support for that program is going to end. However, do note that pre-releases are still going to happen, which is awesome. And they do note there may be other projects they're working with Wizards on, which is understandable. And also that Friday nights is not necessarily just dead in the water. It's just that they don't have an obligation to make it anymore, so they'll make it more or less when they get around to it. At least that was the gist that I got out of the video. I'll link the video here so you guys can check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty... Are you linking so that you can play it?
No, I was linking so if people want to hear what Graham has to say specifically,
okay.
There's a link to the video.
I was confused. Sorry.
No, I'm excited. I think that they do a very good job of being very transparent. I really appreciated the video that they put out a couple months ago where they were talking about the fact that they're not in Wizards' pocket, where they were like, we will criticize and critique when we need to, but we will do it respectfully. And so I'm always happy to see what they do, and I think they handled their business very well.
All right.
So this is such a strange thing. I mean, but again, if you're not a streamer, you're not a Magic the Gathering content producer.
Right?
Awkward. All right. I'm going to move on to Desperate Ravings. I guess unless you guys have any objections, you want to talk about any of those specific topics?
Yes.
Please, go for it.
I'm going to word this as constructively as possible.
Yeah.
So there's this trend happening lately of pro players, of grinders, that are putting out these calls for sponsorship, but they don't know what it is. They don't know what they're looking for. People will respond to their tweets and be like, so, how much do you need? Do you need a jersey? Do you need sleeves? And it's surprise Pikachu face. Like, for the love of God, if you're gonna put a call out there, if you're gonna ask people to retweet this and share it, know what you need, know what you want. No, say, hey, I need a jersey. I need this amount of sleeves. I need this amount of money. This is what I'm able to give you in return. I cannot sit through another tweet from another grinder who's going to put the call out for something. And then when someone offers to help them, they have no idea what these words mean. Like, you cannot just say things because you're an esport. You need to have a plan. For the love of God, could you have a plan? That's all I have to say about that. I've seen so many tweets where like, looking for sponsors. What does that mean? You don't know. I can't.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, with that, we're gonna move on here to Desperate Ravings.
That felt good.
There you go. Got it out.
And you're totally right.
It's not just personal, but just I can't. Like, yeah. I'm an esport.
Right.
So with Desperate Ravings, it's gotten a little uncomfortable in the world of competitive paper Magic, and not just competitive paper Magic, also local game store Magic, and what Wizards has been doing and how it's been impacting people. On Magic TCG this week in the subreddit, one of the most upvoted posts this week was titled "Hate to See This." That comes from Wizards Keep Games, which, as I understand it, is right in Wizards' backyard, essentially, and is the store that many Wizards of the Coast employees go to, which is also very interesting. But they note here, it's with a heavy heart I have to announce Wizards Keep Games will be closing its doors February 1st. I want to thank everyone that has supported the business this past couple of years. If anyone has an extra $40K and is interested in buying the business and online store or just the inventory, reach out. And someone noted, I know things were rough, but I didn't know it was that bad. And they replied, I would rather walk out than be carried, friend. Secret Lair was the last straw.
Oh my God.
That really surprised me. So is Secret Lair is the last straw? Was really the, like...
Wizards, for the first time in the company's history, has directly sold you a single.
All right.
Like that's what they did. Like,
see, that didn't get to me, but when they said like we would rather walk out than be carried out, like, damn, like.
And it's rough because as the years have gone by, it's not gotten easier to run a game store. It's not gotten more profitable to do these things. Wizards, if anything, has pulled a lot of these products like the From the Vault series that used to be like the wink wink nudge nudge. Hey, this is MSRP $39.95. We know you're going to sell it for $100, but it's $39.95. And so that way you could have sort of a windfall that came every year to help sort of keep your store running. These things run on razor thin margins, and if there's a bad product or a couple bad months, that can sink people. And now you have Wizards not only trying to sell boxes essentially directly, very expensive deluxe boxes, don't get me wrong, but they're selling those. Now they're selling multiple different types of singles directly, to the point where I shouldn't buy your Bitter Blossom local game store for $40. That's dumb, when I can just get a custom promo one with 4 custom tokens for $30.
Yeah, you compete with that.
Right. Why wouldn't I just pay for 4 of those, and then I have extra tokens I could just sell off if I want to, and I got this awesome promo set of myself. So at which point do you say, how far is Wizards going to take this?
Right.
In terms of they now, just cutting out all the middlemen. No distributors, no local game stores. Just buy it directly from Wizards of the Coast. They get 100% of the money, 100% of the profits. They don't have to share it anymore. So the Secret Lair products, just like the From the Vault products, could be sold through stores. They could be getting pre-orders from distributors, and you could have an allocation for your store, and they could, be available at such and such date. That's a thing they could have done, but they chose not to do. And as those decisions continue to mount up, it makes people more and more concerned about what Wizards is going to do to try to essentially squeeze the money out of the paper product.
Right.
And they've done it a lot.
The more pressure that Hasbro puts on Wizards to earn money for the top means that all of that gets drained from the bottom, which is the local game stores. Erin, please.
Sorry.
Erin, come on now.
Erin, please. We're not quite to giggle hours yet.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to get out of the hands of the FLGSs, and I'm trying to avoid any potential trigger words for Erin's Giggle Factory over there. Mm-hmm. It's tough. It's tough avoiding the traps here. But it's
Jesus Christ.
It's getting harder and harder for friendly local game stores to have Magic be their primary game.
Yeah.
And it's a wider, it's a symptom of a wider thing, which is, what is paper Magic exactly? What does Wizards of the Coast think paper Magic is anymore? And it's something that we've touched on tangentially every episode for the last year. Ever since Arena started becoming a topic on this show, we've been like, where's paper Magic headed?
Right.
I mean, in my opinion, I think that Wizards wants paper Magic to be a thing. I don't think their intention is to kill paper Magic. I just think that paper Magic is not the priority that it used to be now, where there are so many roads to the top. You know, you can play Arena, you can play Magic Online. You know, paper events are still an option, but they're not the only option, and they're not the option that they're choosing to put all of their energy into. And if that's the case, if they're choosing to prioritize other roads to get to the Pro Tour, to get to these places, then it makes sense on some level that there would be some scaling back of the paper product. And it sucks, you know, particularly when it's a store that their own people frequent, you know, it hits a little close to home. But I'm not terribly surprised that this is happening, because they've clearly been allocating the resources differently.
Right. I mean, and I don't want to bury the lead here. The lead is Grand Prix Oklahoma City had less than 350 people for a $35,000 event. That is more than $100 a head. It's more than $100 a head for that event.
I think, though, that this is still a little bit of... I think we're thinking a little narrow here. You know, I think that, again, the focus for so long had been the main event. You know, that was the identifier for how well your event was doing. But again, if there are other priorities now to where the focus is not just the main event, you know, we don't know how many people showed up for side events. You know, we don't know how many people came for drafts. We don't know how many people came for Commander. Right. You know, now you can go to the command zone and play at these things. You know, it's not about the main event anymore. And, you know, while those numbers are quite dismal, I would really like to see what the whole event looked like. You know, were those side event judges bored? How many drafts did you fire? Those are the numbers that I would want to look at before I write off an event as being a total failure.
Well, I can tell you as a vendor, not great. Just going to say, just wasn't great. So, and that does affect things moving forward in terms of like, you know, do we attend events if you're, you know, pay a bunch of money to vend and then not a lot of people show up? And if it's not all about the competitive players, well, a lot of the vendors are there because the competitive players are there. So, you know, there's definitely a balance I think we're going to have to find at some point. You know, there's 32 person PTQs being announced. Congratulations to Mike Flores for winning his. That was terrific.
Hey, and Bloody won nice. A Pioneer one, I think. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, there you go. And you know, the idea of the future of paper Magic was an article that came out this week from Saffron Olive, fan of the show. Friend of the show rather, and we had sorry. But essentially he's like, look at the changes from 2019. Look at what happened. Look how they cut Grand Prix coverage for weekly MPL coverage. Like, attendance just started to tank almost immediately. Embedding the arena streams and not the paper streams. This is the number one thing that Wizards is doing that is gross and wrong. This is setting up a narrative that only the digital events are the ones that people watch and care about, and the paper events people don't care about. When as you look at the charts that he has here, if you just look at the people who are actually in chat, you know, the people actually on twitch.tv looking at the stream itself, no large difference between the digital and the paper events. But yet, when they pay for those embeds and you get a 6-figure viewership for the arena events and a, you know, 25K or 30K watch this paper event, suddenly you got a narrative there that you're able to sell to the higher ups. Like, what are we doing this for?
I'll be the jerk here. It's fine.
Sure.
Can you beam a paper Magic event into a Polygon or a Kotaku and get the same response that you would if you fed them an Arena game? Like, Arena goes down more smoothly. Like, you can put Arena in a Gamepedia website or a Reddit post and have strangers who've never played Magic be able to consume this relatively easily. Whereas if you give them a slow, you know, chess game of Magic, I don't think you're going to get the same reaction. So again, I don't think it's that they're not giving paper Magic. I don't think it's anything negative against paper Magic. I think it's just you can't feed that to people, you know? Like,
I mean, and this is where they're putting their marketing dollars. But for me, again, it's creating a narrative based on false views. These are purchased embed views.
Oh, I agree. Right. I just don't think it's being done I don't think it's being done as a tool. I don't think the goal is to kill paper magic. People are using this as a conspiracy theory of, well, they're paying for Arena, but they're not paying for paper because they want to kill paper. I don't think it's that.
I think you're both right. You're arguing different sides of the same coin, which is that Arena is the shiny new object. It is easier to get people to watch the shiny new object than it's easier to watch the new hotness than the old and busted, right? Especially with these newfangled kids and their and their social medias and their TikToks. So Arena's prettier. I get it. Yep. It is much easier to market Arena, and they're putting all of that energy into it because it's easier to do that. With that said, the data doesn't support that it's having that effect.
I agree.
As of yet. The existing audience for paper magic is, as far as we can tell, relatively equivalent to this newfangled audience of digital magic. The divide is not drastic yet in terms of actual viewers. The purchased viewers or the bot viewers are disingenuous, and a way to show people at Hasbro who aren't going to dig into where these numbers come from, surface level data, in order to get more money for Arena in lieu of giving more money to paper, which is going to exacerbate this divide and eventually lead to the data that they want, but it doesn't exist. The actual data doesn't back it up. So you're both right. And both things are a problem. It's just that there are so many little things that we need to focus on that it's tough to pinpoint exactly what's wrong with the what's going on and what's wrong. And that's why there's still so much consternation and lack of information and lack of transparency about exactly what the end goal is. I don't think that Wizards of the Coast wants to stop selling paper magic cards. It's incredibly profitable.
Right.
But
they're still printing money. But
their end goal may be to stop printing paper magic cards for a competitive sphere,
or just not have it be a priority anymore.
Right.
Whereas before it was the only road.
And but the thing is, we don't know. And if there's one thing that Magic players hate, it's not knowing. Right? Like we would rather be told. Actually, you know what? I don't know if we would rather be told.
I don't know if we'd rather be told, but I know that if you say, here's a black box of we don't know what's in it, and all Magic players are like, oh my God, that's going to kill me. That's going to kill everyone. That's going to explode. We're done. It's like T2, and they're holding on to the fence, and we're blown away. We're done here. Like, it's bad. But, and no, I'm not saying they're trying to kill paper. I'm saying that, like, it definitely feels like they're trying to diminish competitive paper. And that's fine. But, like, again, this is one of those things where it feels like they won't communicate it to the outside world. And so we just see these weird little blips of 348 person GPs. And that's like alarm bells for a lot of people, and particularly those who rely on selling and buying Magic cards for their livelihood of, wow, what's going on with these competitive events? Because a lot of times that drove a secondary market that honestly you can view Wizards as taking a bite out of now with the secret layer type of products, and honestly also the deluxe edition products, not to mention the collector's packs, which we don't even want to get into. But either way, we have time probably for one more here. Erin, do you want to cover the MTGO premiere thing?
I mean, there wasn't much about it that I thought was pretty groundbreaking. I mean, they did demonstrate, Magic Online did demonstrate that they are listening to feedback when it comes to the Premier Play program. You know, they made an announcement last week in terms of the QPs and things like that. And so it looks like, you know, they did change that prize structure. I responded to that tweet and I just said, hey, you've also been getting some feedback regarding your vintage events. You know, if you could, you know, consider that feedback as well and give us something to spend our QPs on that don't involve another format, we'd really appreciate that. And somebody responded to my tweet within minutes and said, thank you for the feedback, and we are aware of that. So nice. It does seem that they are listening, and hopefully they will listen to other feedback too.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out, and hope it works out in your favor. That said, let's turn the corner here to the finisher. Prada has a new campaign for a handbag featuring Magic cards. I put the link in the description there. We haven't been able to prove the truthiness of this ad's veracity, but if it is legit, The Italian luxury fashion house is using the world's premier trading card game to help sell their Prada women's leather bowling bag, which, by the way, sells for $23.50 on their website. That's $2,350. So this got me thinking. It's the Christmas season, shopping time. Still a week before Santa comes down your chimney to deliver sealed boosters to all the good little girls and boys. What other luxury products can Magic cross over with to help sell their wares, Ruben?
Passion, intrigue, excitement. The greatest scent in the multiverse. Eau de Faden, only from Chanel.
I don't know. If you wear that, you might get killed. Just.
You smell like a thief.
I'll steal your heart.
Whoa.
And your mock sapphire.
Jeez. Aaron?
Well, if you're going to play a grindy deck and him and haw with every draw step, you're going to go to extra turns. And when you get there, you want to look your best, presenting the intentional draw collection from Rolex. Because if you're going to go to time in style.
That's right. Super style. Very nice. Look, the world's foremost luxury car brand meets the world's most exclusive Magic cards. V8s are nice, but they can't stack up to the brand new Power 9 from BMW, an engine so powerful they're restricted in all formats.
Ooh, nice.
Very nice. And that ends another live episode of Magic Mics. Thanks for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. Thank you, Erin.
Thank you for having me, and have a happy holiday.
Yeah, thank you, Ruben.
Thank you. And we'll see you all in the new year, I guess, since next week is Christmas.
We'll see you all next decade.
Jeez.
Brother. Thanks, Dad. Yeah, we'll see you then.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving here to our final slide. Goodness gracious. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, our co-sponsor, CardHoarder.com, my co-host, Erin Campbell and Ruben Bresser, you guys for watching or listening, and hope you support us at our Patreon at patreon.com/magicmics. Please follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe to everything social that tells people we exist. Catch us online on our Discord, twitch.tv at Magic Mics, on Twitter at Magic Mics Cast, our Magic Mics subreddit, and like the Magic Mics page on Facebook. Talk to us privately at magicmicspodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmicspodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week, same time. Okay, join us here in 2 weeks, same time,
2 weeks.
same place, for another episode of Magic Mics. Good night, everybody.